on a good topic right now. Right now, what we're talking about is development. We're talking about research and development for us as an organization, as a podcast, as partners right now.
Yes, that's what we're right now. We're experimenting with a lot of ways to achieve what we want to do with social media, right? And with our dreams of being influencers, podcasters. Right now, we really are just experimenting with how we want to run our channels, how we want to approach the types of videos that we upload to our individual accounts, and how do we want to approach the podcast? How do we want to improve it? How do we want to sit? What do we want to have in the background? Right now, it's a lot of experimentation.
Yeah.
We're acquiring lots of data that we're happy to be looking through because it's helping us improve. And I think we're getting closer to that image and that goal of what we want everything to be.
Right, one step at a time. Let's talk about dreams. Let's talk about what does the podcast look like to you if it's running a full cylinder, all cylinders firing. We have it, in the future where we want it to be. What does that look like?
Yes, that's a great place to start. So for me, I think the dream of the podcast, right? Without the obvious of we want it to be big and we want it to be popular, right? That's a given. But what a podcast looks like for me is I want to have a dedicated room where we record, right? I want to have a dedicated room, preferably painted a darker color, because I feel like it would just match better with what I have in my head, right? Like a dark blue or maybe a burgundy, just something like dark, something nice and warm, or just. Yeah, I guess I get. I was saying nice and warm, and then I just said blue. It's like that's cool, but yeah, just something nice color, kind of on the darker side. That's kind of how I imagine the room. I want to have a wall, a background with, for example, our diplomas, right? So we're both graduating tomorrow. Great, exciting news, yes. With our engineering degrees, him in biomedical engineering, me in mechanical engineering. But yeah, have those displayed. Have other posters or paintings, maybe even some sort of frame TV or something where we can show content and we can bring it up during the podcast. That's the kind of thing that I want to have in the background. Maybe a sign as well that has our podcast name on it, right? Like CoSpace, whether that be metal letters or something more like Joe Rogan, for example, who has a sign that lights up, right? Something like that I think would be amazing. So that's kind of like what the recording room looks like for me. Nice, comfy chairs, maybe ones that don't move as much, so we can sit a little bit more still.
Yeah, and match.
And match as well, right? So we could do black, or if we have another color that would match with whatever the room is going for, then yes, some nice chairs. I also want to have maybe like a triple camera setup, right? So right now we're only recording on one, but I would love to have one maybe kind of directed towards my side, my angle, one on you, and then have the overall still. And preferably, I believe, I would like to maybe find a way to better hide these mics a little bit, right? So we do the best we can right now, but maybe like a little, what are they, lapel mics?
Okay. Or we can have some overhead mics.
Or some overhead mics, yes, yeah. But I am extremely happy with the quality of these. I think it's important to say that we were struggling with mics whenever we were trying to start recording our episodes. We went through a couple of Yetis and everything that didn't work out too well. We were also having trouble with where do we set them up. So I think we got these. These are the Rode
Micros.
Rode Micros, yes.
Yeah, wireless micro.
Wireless micro, and they work perfectly. I mean, they sound amazing. They are small, and they've been super easy to work with, minimal setup. But that's kind of what a podcast looks like for me. And I guess with that setting being kind of set up, really, I just want to be able to have interesting conversations with you. I want to have guests on the podcast as well. I want to be able to interview interesting people because I feel like once we get all of our thoughts out, I want to have conversations with other people and see what they think about stuff, right? And I think that's kind of the next level right there. So how about you? What does it look like for you?
That's cool. I like hearing that perspective because it's my thoughts were like in a whole nother dimension. For me, what a podcast looks like for me is simplifying the logistics. Right now, it takes us, like, we got to set up, we got to put up the tripod, we got to get the camera, we got to plug in the mics, we got to sit down, we got to rearrange this. For me, I want the podcast to be, it's just like, boom, like, hey, all we do, sit down, hit a button, and it's going.
Yeah.
I want it, that's what I want. I want it simple. I want to be able to, boom, let's start recording podcasts right now. I want to be to the point where you and I are playing a game, or we're on the computer, we're hanging out, and we're like, dude, hey, let's start a podcast right now. And we just start it.
Yes.
That's what I want. I want to be able to streamline the production. I want to be able to remove all the technical difficulty. I want to be able to remove all the different components that we have to plug in. I want it all to be ready all the time, and I want it to be mobile. And I want us to be able to say, hey, we're planning a vacation to France, and we're going to record an episode there. And it's going to be, hey, well, I just pack up my bag, all of our equipment's in there, and we can set up in the hotel room or in the Airbnb, and we're ready to go. We just push a button and we're ready to go. That's what I see the future of the podcast as.
That's very interesting that you say that, because I completely agree with everything you said. Those were things I didn't think about. And then you said it and I'm like, yes, like I want that. And I guess that's kind of where I was trying to get at whenever I said I was describing the professional studio environment, right?
Yeah.
Because once we have a setup like that, we can just, bam, push record, episode starts.
Right.
We're ready to go, right? Cameras are already set. We just turn everything on, and we're ready to go, and we're ready to proceed. So I completely agree. Being able to streamline the entire production process is a huge factor, right? Because then it makes the podcast a little bit easier to start up and get going with. Right. We have an interesting conversation, or we start having an interesting conversation. We're like, wait, hold on, let's go sit down in the studio and let's record this episode and go off from there. And I agree, mobility is another super important factor. I mean, we go somewhere interesting, like you were saying, France, or hey, we're going to go to Mexico. Well, we want to be able to record somewhere, right? We want our setup to be mobile. We want our mics, our camera, our computer. I think that's an important thing to kind of consider is, in order to streamline the process, we also want to keep the components to a minimum. We don't want to have anything extra that makes things too complicated to really get going with the episode, right? Like if we need a camera, or if we need our cameras, we need our computer, and we need our mics, and bam, that's it, right? We don't want to have too many extra components. I guess that also means hopefully whatever we can get wireless is wireless as well, because then we don't have to be dealing with cables. But yeah, that's interesting.
That's cool, and I think that's a good way to segue into kind of us also starting individual influencer accounts. What do you want to do with your account? Which demographic do you want to reach out to? What type of content do you want to produce? And really, what are your dreams with an individual account?
Yeah, lots of good questions there too. So if you guys don't know, we're both trying to start a TikTok, individual TikTok accounts where we can hopefully provide you guys a little bit more of our own lives, right? How our own interests, what we do when we're not together and we're recording the podcast. So that's been kind of something that we've been wrestling with in terms of how we're going to approach that for our individual channels. But yeah, I think what I would want to do is I really want to have a sort of casual page, right? I don't want it to be too, I guess my production, when I mean casual, is the videos that I put out aren't going to be super edited, right? Or they're not going to have super high production quality videos, right? So sometimes you'll be on TikTok and you'll come across those TikToks that people are like, man, when did I get on TikTok Premium? I don't pay for this, because the quality of the TikTok is so good. And that's not the kind of video that I'm going to be making. I want it to be more about my lifestyle, about my interests, right? Sharing my interests with other people who also hopefully share the same interests. And even for those that don't share the same interests, maybe they find me interesting just as an individual, just in the way I present information or the way I record my videos, right? And maybe that can hook them and they can find a new interest. So what are my interests? Well, that includes, I'm a big space enthusiast. That's honestly the reason I became a mechanical engineer was because whenever I was choosing my degree, I wanted something that allowed me to work with space-related things that wasn't something ridiculous like being an astronaut, right? That was maybe, that's not ridiculous, but something easier to obtain, and a streamlined way to get there. So that's a big thing. So I'd be talking a lot about space related things, just kind of my thoughts on stuff, maybe a little bit of analysis, an engineer's perspective on certain items. I also am a big runner. So I recently ran a half marathon here in Oklahoma City. Great time. The energy was amazing, and I'm really, really proud of myself for getting up and doing it. If any of you guys are thinking about running a half marathon, 5K, 10K, whatever a long distance run looks like for you, or even just a fast run if you're a sprinter, get up and do it, because it seriously is an amazing experience that you won't regret. And I could not have been happier with how everything went. I did lose my phone at the beginning of the half marathon. I don't know if I told you that, but it was pretty scary. So I spent about 20 minutes looking for it until finally I found out that one of the police officers turned it into a worker there. And the only way I found that out is because my girlfriend was there supporting me. Shout out to my girlfriend Kaylin. She's the number one supporter, and so was my sister. So my sister's probably number two supporter, just because we're siblings and we don't like each other. So but anyway, so she had my location. She tracked it, and I found it. I was about 20 minutes late. I wouldn't call it late. It was it starts at 6:30. Didn't get off the line till 6:50, but by then there was still a ton of people behind me, right? Because you just have this huge line of people just walking to the start line.
Spectators?
No, just like runners, right? But
participants.
Yeah. So the participants, we had a whole road. I would say, I don't know how far back it went, but all I can say was that 20 minutes in, I hop into the half marathon gate, which kind of puts me ahead of a lot of people, so we all have different gates that you enter through. So you're kind of cutting the line, but not really, because this is where I'm supposed to come in from. And then you just walk, right, with the group. You have the crowds chanting on the side, and then once you hit the start line, that's when you start going, right? So I say late because even 20 minutes in, as I'm crossing the start line, there's still I still can't see the back of the line. And this line has been going since 6:30, starting the races. So, and they track your time individually, so you don't have to worry about starting late, because you'll have an electronic tracker on your bib number, right? That'll track your individual time regardless of when you started. Anyway, that was a bit of a tangent, but yeah, so I highly encourage anyone who's thinking about doing that to do it. And that's kind of another thing that I'm going to cover on my TikTok page, is a lot of my fitness journey. I've really started to get back into it this year. It all started with the half marathon training, and I'm going to continue to run a lot. I'm going to start lifting more, try to get stronger. Josh here is crazy when it comes to the gym. He's super shredded, so I'm kind of trying to take a note out of his page. I'm like, if I have a resource like Josh available, why not? Why not? Try to get some help. So yeah, there's that, and then of course gaming. So gaming is a big part of my life. I love to game. It's my favorite hobby, I would say, outside of course fitness. To me, it's a nice outlet. Because you can play so many different types of games. You can be competitive and play multiplayer shooters, or you can be competitive and play racers and compete with other people. You can also play story games, which tell amazing stories. I mean, on the same level of quality as you would get with a good movie or a good book, right? Sometimes even better. So because it's interactive.
Right.
So it's one of those forms of media that I would say, once again, if you haven't tried it. It's gotten a lot more popular now, but for the people who haven't tried it, I would encourage them to do so, because it's just like, so I do all three. I watch TV, read books, and play games, and each of them have just such amazing stories all the time coming out, and multiple that have been out for a long time. If you're not doing all three, I really feel like you're missing out, and of course we don't all have time to consume all of the media, but yes, that would be another thing I would cover, just my, funny moments, rage moments. Yeah. But anyway, enough about me. How about you with your TikTok?
Yeah, so I'd say that my big goals right now, in terms of what I want, who I want to influence, and how I want to influence as an influencer, would be to encourage, to educate, and just to influence people to be more mindful about themselves. And whether that means going on a walk, lifting weights, running, um, being mindful of their diet. That's what I want to do. I want you to start thinking about yourself. I want you to start valuing yourself more, because I think that you are valuable, and I think that it takes a community of people who believe that they are valuable to really start making a difference in the world. And so that starts with us. So what I would want to do is just use my biomedical engineering degree to improve my life. And I hope that by me doing that, it will inspire someone else to want to improve their life. And I'm going to mostly do that through the avenues of education and fitness. And I want to use education to, on the topics of biomedical engineering, to teach people about how to improve their fitness and improve their lifestyle. And I think that if we can start in one of those places, then everybody's life will get better. The people that you interact with, your family, your loved ones, and especially yourself. So I want to use this page to educate people on physiology, anatomy, kinesiology, wellness, mentality. I want to motivate and I want to inspire. And I think that just looking like you are fit is a great place to start. I think that every single person you meet, every single person you interact with on a daily basis, we are subconsciously and especially consciously, making judgments about whether it's the glasses they're wearing or the clothes they're wearing or the way they look or anything. But we're constantly comparing other people against ourselves. And I think that if we can be in a position to where some of these comparisons we're coming out on top of these, I think that'll do a lot for confidence. So I want to boost people's confidence. I want them to be overall more mindful about themselves, and I want them to just learn how to take care of themselves better than they already are.
So, what? Great points. I love that. That's great. I mean, very motivational, and very very wholesome. Honestly, that's good. That you want to help people improve themselves. Is that what got you into fitness? Was some of the points that you brought up, or what?
That's a really good question, Ricardo.
When would you say? I'm gonna add to it. When would you say that you got into fitness, right? And what got you into fitness?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. I think that I basically really started. I've been working out for probably about 4 years. But I would say about 3.5 of those years, I was just like kind of more like a gym bro.
Yeah.
I was going to the gym. I was putting in 4 to 7 hours a week in the gym, maybe like an hour a day. Kind of that's a normal routine. I looked kind of like I worked out, I guess. But and the reason I was going, I think, was for vanity. I wanted to look good. And I think that stemmed from just my own self-image. I think that I had a really poor self-image of myself. Mm-hmm. And that really hasn't, that is probably what motivated me the most to go to the gym, was because I wanted to look better. It wasn't necessarily about how I felt health-wise, because I've felt fine. I feel healthy, and I was healthy, and I am healthy. So those motivations really more recently have kind of kind of been brought up just because of now I've been getting really serious in the gym. Been getting really serious with my diet. Been getting really serious with my cardio, and consequently really serious about my health, about what I'm putting into my body, what I'm doing with my body, how I'm using my body. So I would say, to answer your question, the reason I went to the gym was for vanity. Because I am not a functional lifter necessarily. I'm more like a bodybuilder. I train volume. I train for hypertrophy. I'm not necessarily training for max, 1 rep maxes, powerlifting, Olympic lifts, functional lifts.
Right, like you're not thinking to yourself, okay, if I get stuck under a car, ooh, like
Right.
I'm gonna have to lift this much, and this is what 1 rep, get out.
Right,
You're
yeah.
lifting, yeah.
Right. I'm just thinking like, hey, it's not about how much you can lift. It's about how much you look like you can lift.
Yes, sir.
So that's where I'm at. Definitely. So to answer your questions, vanity, self-image, and wellness are the reasons that I lift. And I just want to let you guys know that find your reason. Find your reason and maybe it's not lifting, maybe it's running, maybe it's going on walks, maybe it's going to the park. But find your reason to get out, to use your body, and just to be active, because everyone can benefit from getting up and moving.
I completely agree. I couldn't have said it better myself. And that is a lot of the reason why I got into fitness. So my journey has been a little bit different from yours. I as to when it started, but not really the reasons. So mine started, I would say, ninth grade.
Okay.
Right. So at the start of high school, and in ninth grade, I basically was entering high school, and I was not happy with the way I looked. Right. I mean, of course, we're all going through puberty at that time, so I wasn't necessarily saying my face, although. I was self-conscious about that too, but I would look at my body and I would say, okay, I felt chubby, I looked chubby, and I mean, I was, I'm 5'10", and I weighed 185, but it was not muscle, right? Because I had never gone to the gym to that point. I played a couple sports, but like basketball was one of the sports I had played, but of course, middle school basketball, we're not sitting there really lifting weights. So it was fat, and it wasn't muscle. So I was chubby, and I would look at myself and I wasn't happy. And when I looked at myself as a whole, right, face and everything included, I was like, well, what can I change? And I would look at my stomach and I would look at my arms, and I'm like, I can change that. And at around this time, especially going into high school, I had a lot of friends of mine who were starting to get serious about sports, and such as wrestling, basketball, weightlifting, track, right? And they were starting to, especially my wrestler friends, right? They were starting to really lift, really get muscular. And so it was about halfway through ninth grade, because that's when I started really seeing the change in them, and I'm like, okay, I need to do something about it. And that's kind of what got me into the gym. I of course wanted to look better, and I didn't just want to look better, but I wanted to feel better, right? Not just about my looks, but about my health.
Okay.
Right. I knew that I wanted to be healthy and live a nice, long, healthy life, especially because I'm like so scared of dying. I'm like, I really want to live as long as possible. And that's part of the reason why I got into running so much, right? Is because I felt like that was a way to keep my heart healthy, keep my my lungs healthy. And yeah, so kind of same reasons. I got really into it, really serious, kind of like you, for about 2 years. And so, I had the abs. I was very low body fat. I managed to go down from 185 to 145 in about 9 months. So I lost about 40 pounds in 9 months. I remember going to my doctor for my annual checkup after I had lost the weight, and she was just concerned. She was like, you lost 40 pounds in a year. And I'm like, yeah. I was trying to. I was working out. And she said, are you eating? And I'm like, yes. I mean, like, this is what I want. And she's like, no, like, you're, of course, much healthier in terms of weight now, right? Like, they have this index, right? And you're supposed to be like, for, I don't know if it's just for my height, just for males, but all I remember she told me you want to be between 20 and 25 for the number of the index, which meant if you were over 25, you were overweight. Not necessarily obese or like fat, but just overweight. And if you were under 20, you were underweight, and you needed to, you needed to. And it was just, it was very relative, but it was kind of like a solid place to start when, assessing you. And I was at like a 21 or a 22. I think they call it like a BMI or something. But I was like at a 21, 22. So I was squarely right, like right exactly where I needed to be. And but she was just concerned because she's like, man, you lost so much weight. Like I'm worried that you like starved yourself to like lose the weight. I'm like, no, I didn't do that. I love food too much. I wouldn't be able to do that. But yeah, and then I got a girlfriend. So and then starting senior year in high school, I really kind of let go. And I didn't get anywhere near that way. I think before I started working out again seriously, I only got up to like 158. So still very, very, slim compared to how I used to be. But I definitely lost my abs and got squishier and stuff. I lost muscle, but I didn't necessarily get more fat or get chubby or anything. I just kind of lost muscle and that was about most of how I was throughout college. Still ran somewhat consistently and still went to the gym, but it was maybe once or twice a week. So ever since this year started, 2025, I have been really going to the gym about 5 times a week. I'm probably at that gym bro level, like you were saying, but I'm putting about 7 to 8 hours into fitness a week, which is much higher and closer to what I was putting in during high school. During high school, I was probably doing 10 hours. I would go to track practice, which would be from like 2 to 3:30. Go home, grab a snack, be back in the gym, and then be there for an hour and a half. Do a full lift, do some full lifting, do a full, arm workout, chest workout, and then go run 2 miles on the treadmill on top of what I had already ran during track. So I was really losing weight. And and so I was probably putting in like 3 to 4 hours a day for about 5 days a week during high school. So I was doing like 20 hours a week maybe at the gym, mainly because I didn't have a girlfriend. And I also, it's high school, barely had any homework. I didn't really have anything better to do. Was only 16, 17 years old, had barely kind of started driving. Parents didn't really trust me to go out and be going super far. So the gym was right around the corner. It's like, hey, let's go to the gym. My friends, like I told you, started getting into fitness. So then that was also kind of a way to hang out with them more. It's like, now we're all going to the same gym together. It's like, hey, Ricardo's coming to the gym now. Cool. And it's like, well, part of the time that we'd be there, we'd be talking and be in the sauna, just chilling. So it was a lot of fun. And that's kind of what got me into it.
That's cool, dude. I learned something about you just there. It took a lot of courage to say that, honestly, bro. Like, there's definitely a success story that you just told me. Definitely proud of you for that. And
thank you.
Yeah, and what I can say as well is that it doesn't matter where you're at right now in life, because it may be. So for me, just 6 months ago, I was really depressed, and I was not going to the gym. I was spending 0 hours a week in the gym, and I wasn't just like out of shape necessarily, but I was not well, and I was not fit, and I was isolating a lot, and I was lonely, and I was just by myself, and it was just perpetuating, and it really took good friends like Ricardo that support me and that love me, that to kind of pull me out of that slump I was in. And that's really the genesis of when I started getting very serious in the gym. And all it takes is just someone to influence you to just start. And that's why I'm thankful that I have this guy right here, because we're a team, we're partners, we support each other, and I just encourage you guys to find someone like that, because that's really all it takes, is to build a community of like-minded individuals that will support you and that will encourage you along the way. And that's what we want to be as well. We want to talk to you guys, and we want to build a community with you that we're just developing ourselves. And kind of like going back off what Ricardo was saying, You know, it to motivate yourself to get to the gym uh, is hard. But if you can set those goals for yourself, you can achieve them. And that's something that maybe we can do is set, talk about goals that we want to achieve, and we can monitor our progress, and we can check in with everybody once a week, and we can watch ourselves grow.
Yeah.
This can be a community thing, and it can be also a way to track our own progress as well.
I agree. That'd be great if we could do that. Yeah, I really think it would help me stay on track and kind of bring back some of that magic that I felt, like I was saying in the beginning of when I started working out, right? Having that friend or friends who also take fitness seriously, right? Because you also don't just want to be sitting there talking, but setting up a goal like that, being able to monitor each other's progress and our own progress like that, I think that'd be great. Yeah, so I would love that. And like Josh was saying, so you can feel like you're at your low point. But finding that community around you to support you is very, very important, right? And it's not just for working out, but if you're I think that we've been talking a lot about working out, which takes a lot of discipline and takes a lot of work to be consistent with. But with anything that you want to do, right? Anything that you want to do in life, whether that's passing and getting a certain license or certification at your job, or pursuing, or raising a family, whatever it is. I mean, it takes discipline, it takes work. And so those are kind of principles that you can learn by doing one thing and carry them on to another. But I also think that having that community around you really makes it easier for you to be able to maintain that consistency that you need in whatever you're trying to accomplish. So yeah, I mean, I'm super thankful to have you as a friend. Definitely a role model in a lot of ways, and I think with that being said, surrounding yourself with good people is just so important. Whether that's your family or your friends, right? I mean, sometimes people say, "Hey, my family." I mean, they're you'll hear like, "Oh, well, they're my family." Like I have to be in contact with them. I have to be close to them. And everyone knows their own family is the best, but sometimes family isn't exactly. Sometimes some family members aren't exactly the people that you want to be around. Whether they're family or not, because family can come in a lot of ways, not just blood. And yeah, so that's definitely something that I kind of pursued whenever I was starting college 5 years ago, which is crazy to think about. But I wanted to surround myself with people that were motivated, were intelligent, and kind of course, shared some of the same interests that I did, but also maybe had different things that I could learn from them, and maybe vice versa, right? So maybe I could bring something to the table to share in the relationship that I could teach them in exchange for whatever they were teaching me. So, and I think I did well, right? I look at you and I'm like, I think I did well, and I've met so many other incredible people. That's one thing that college has been great for.
Right.
Was besides getting the education, the experience itself with meeting all the people, the network, right? And I'm sure you feel the same way.
Absolutely. Yeah. We started at a community college, went through the grind.
Yep.
Now we're here, about to graduate, walking the stage tomorrow.
Walking the stage tomorrow.
Let's go. Yeah,
Yes.
we're looking forward to that. We have a lot to look forward to this week. We have a lot to look forward to with our podcast, with our individual influencer accounts. And there's a lot in store right now for us. There's a lot of development that's happening. We're still continually investing time and research and development into this episode and this podcast, so that we can continue to improve it. And we definitely love hearing feedback. We want to hear criticism.
Yes.
We want to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly. We're just two guys here, just trying. So whatever type of feedback we can get, we really appreciate.
We would, yes, because it is harder than it seems, right? So you kind of hear all these people. I don't know if you have, but you hear those people saying that, oh, everybody's starting a podcast now.
Right.
It's like, oh, everyone has a podcast. Everyone
Right.
has a podcast, And yes, there are a lot of podcasts now. Podcasting is growing, but it's also harder than it seems. Talking in front of a camera and not getting distracted or thinking about it is weird. It's somehow in a way not natural, right? Because you have this device that's recording you and looking at you, and then you can watch yourself back, and then all of a sudden you have this file that has recorded everything you've said, all the motions you've done, and that's already kind of unnatural on its own and kind of weird. I think that's part of the reason why people hate to hear themselves speak. So for those of you that don't know, I actually have started streaming on Twitch. My Twitch handle is Rev Mystify, so probably link that down below. Just a quick shameless plug. But
let's go.
I was playing Fortnite on one stream with my girlfriend, and she told me she went back to rewatch it one morning just because she wanted to watch my side of things. But she said she immediately turned it off because she couldn't stand to hear her voice on the stream. And I'm like, I think that kind of goes back to what I'm saying. It's unnatural, right? Having this, even now for us that are, such a technology-rich generation. It's still kind of weird and unnatural, and we just don't like seeing ourselves on camera, or at least a lot of us, or hearing our own voice.
Right.
So it's harder than it seems, and it's definitely something that we've been kind of battling and trying to get used to. I think that with every passing day we're getting better, especially because we're both trying to grow other forms of media for ourselves, other channels, and so we're getting in all this extra practice, and I definitely feel a little bit more comfortable now, and hopefully we continue to act. That's another thing, is it's kind of tough to figure out. I've watched podcasts where they're directly talking to the camera, and then I've seen other podcasts where they don't even acknowledge the camera. So it's like trying to figure out. I don't think that there's a wrong way to do it. I think that's what I'm starting to learn. It's like whichever way we want to do it, that's whatever way we have to do it, right? And I think that's an important lesson to share with you guys. For once again, whatever you're trying to do, if it's something where you're seeing conflicting opinions, or you're hearing conflicting opinions, and you're seeing conflicting things in videos of how one person is doing something and how the other person is doing something, right? I think that at the end of the day, what I'm learning is that just means that there is no right answer, because if both of them are successful, then you know that it's not about those little things. It's about the way that it works for you. Right. Like you were saying with our monologue, right? And trying to practice that.
Yeah, that's what kind of going back on what Ricardo was saying, is monologuing is tough. It's tough to monologue and to keep it sounding natural and organic. Like right now, none of this, what we're saying, has been choreographed, and none of it's been scripted. We believe that in order to maintain some character of the podcast, we want these conversations to flow naturally, and that works for us. Find, if you want to do something like this, find what works for you. Don't model anything off anybody else's. Use your own. Be creative, and just do what feels natural to you, because for us, this is what works for us. This is how we can engage in dialogue. Dialogue is a little bit easier than monologue from my experience. Ricardo and I have good conversation, and that's a reason why we started this. So on our individual influencer accounts, we're learning that monologue is a little bit tougher, because from my opinion, I am my biggest critic. So I'm seeing like all the little things, like, oh, I got this piece of hair right here over my eye, and I don't want it there in this intro video that I'm making. But really, it's like, it doesn't matter, so for me, I'm just learning about what it takes to create quality content. I want to create quality content because I want to influence people for the better. I know that there are a lot of influences on social media that are not for the better, that are just nothing but brain rot. And part of this job, part of this task, this goal, the way to achieve this goal is through a lot of pain and suffering of watching a lot of other influencers, because we have to learn from them. And some of these people are like,
yeah, Not to point out any names, not to point fingers, right? We'll kind of keep those to ourselves.
So part of our goal is to not rot your brain. We want to develop and grow with everybody.
Yeah, maybe scrub away some of that brain rot that they feed. Right, yes. And like you were saying too, right? Developing that artistic eye.
Yeah.
You know, it's something that Joshua and I were having this discussion earlier, but you know, we're very analytical people. I mean, we're engineers, right? So we're very analytical people, and we've developed, I believe it's the left side of our brain that's associated with a lot of that kind of thought process, and but we haven't really developed the other side too much, you know, with the creative side, and that's something that we're constantly trying to improve right now. And something that Joshua pointed out to me is we have to see the world in a different way to be able to capture the videos and the content that we want to do, and also to be able to run a podcast like this, especially once we start having guests on the show. If we were to start seeing some form of success with the podcast, and we manage to start getting people to want to be on the podcast. And of course we would reach out to people, but I think it's a really big indicator that you're doing something right when there's people that want to be on your podcast. And if we ever get to that point, then once again, it's about being creative. It's about being a good interviewer. That's a whole another set of skills that we need to develop, right? Because right now we have a very natural conversation going, like Joshua said. None of this has been scripted. None of this has been written down. We kind of just started talking with the camera going and rolling. But then we have to develop a whole new set of skills once we start having guests on the show. Maybe a little bit more structured. Not too. We still wouldn't have, you know, a script, but maybe just a little bit more structure to be able to approach having an interview with a person.
Definitely, yeah. So if any of you are interested in being a guest on our show, we would love to have you, and we would love to have a conversation with you, even if it's just leaving a comment, liking it, or anything. We want to build a community, and we want to grow with everybody.
Yes, I completely agree. If any of you guys want to be on our show, please let us know. We can drop our business email down in the description of the video on YouTube, and of course, leave a comment, subscribe if you like what you're hearing, and if you don't like what you're hearing, please comment anyways. Let us know what we're doing wrong, because we really want to improve. Even if it's just 5 people watching, 10 people watching, you know, we want to. That's enough for us. We want to improve, so please let us know. But I think with that being said, we're probably gonna wrap things up here. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure to. So we're gonna be uploading hopefully once a week. So make sure to tune in and stay tuned for the next episode. But yeah, is there anything else you'd like to say, Josh?
Yeah, let's. I think that along with what Ricardo said, we wanna be talking to you guys and uploading once a week, and maybe in the future we can increase the frequency of that. But as we're learning, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of hours, a lot of dedication. Hopefully we'll be able to, as college graduates, be able to commit more time to that. But right now you can expect to hear from us about once a week.
Yeah, and one last note, based off what Josh just said, is college graduates going to be going into the workforce. Hopefully we can up the budget, and then we can provide a better experience for you guys at home. So yeah, but anyway, that's it from me. I think we had a great talk. Yeah,
we did.
Thank you guys.
Perfect, bro.
That was great, bro.
That was good.
That was so much better than the first episode.
That was